George W. Bush defines leadership as making decisions that no one else wants to make. For example, 9/11, Katrina, making actions and choices without having all the information. This is what he claims in the book. I'm not saying this personally, that's what he says in the book. Number two being that it is heavy into 9/11 because essentially that changed his entire presidency and what he wanted to do. And he became more of a foreign than he did about being national in the United States. He was more of a foreign president with wars. So it was very different than what he originally intended and what he says in his book. And the other reason why I am interested about that is because in this book he defends the Iraq war and the surge. That's extremely controversial, just so you know. And I am very interested in this because I have friends personally that lost their parents, one or the other, or that were deeply wounded from this war. And I remember it as a child because I was very young when George Bush was president. I think he got out when I was 13 years old. So I remember the fallout of it affecting some of my friends and then not having mom or dad anymore, or having mom and dad but they were not what they used to be, etc., etc. So that's another reason why I read this book, is what was his thought on this. And he seems to be defending it for whatever reason. He acknowledges his mishaps, especially 2007, I guess, in Iraq. So that's one thing that I find interesting. Also, something else in this book that I wasn't expecting to find was his personal struggles, which I didn't really think would be in here. I figured it'd be like a memoir, and just like Bill Clinton's, where it doesn't really talk about struggles, it just talks about his life and kind of carries on. That's not necessarily what happened here. Matter of fact, the first chapter really starts off with him fighting alcoholism, which is, for think what you want him as a person, but that's not an easy thing to do. I have had a friend personally who drank himself to death before he was 45 years old. So to get off the booze and become sober and make himself basically into a governor president, regardless of what party you think he belongs to, I think that's admirable. He claims that his faith and family molded his presidency as well. He wrote this book, and you can get a very deep understanding of. He's not asking you to agree with him. He's not asking you for forgiveness, basically. He's just saying, hey, I just want you to understand my point of view. That's how this book is written. So a lot of folks will read this and go, I don't know about that. And what he's asking, I would suppose, is just asking what is his side of the story. Let him give his side of the story. Not many books are written that way, and Americans usually don't do that. He has to be in the right or the wrong side, or one or the other. They don't really try to understand. They try to talk past each other, which this book was designed, in my opinion, to give his point of view and just ask for understanding from where he was at with the decisions and information he had at the time he had to make it. And these are my five top takeaways from Decision Points by George W. Bush. If you guys have any comments, please leave them down below, and I will leave Bill Clinton's memoir down below. Y'all have a nice day.